So this chapter is on polynomials, and to start off, we have to make sure we know our vocabulary for what a polynomial is. Now, a polynomial has three different terms or three different names for it, and that would be a monomial, a binomial, and a trinomial. With a monomial, it's one term. With a binomial, it's going to be two terms, and with a trinomial, it's going to be three terms. So for example, it says a monomial is a number, a variable, or a product of a number and one or more variable with whole number exponents. So some examples of monomials are -4. So that would be a monomial because it's one term. 2y to the third power. The 2 is the coefficient, and then you have y to the third power. That is a monomial itself. So it's all together. And then if you had 4x to the fourth power, y to the second power, this all right here would be its own term. Now, some examples of something that would not be a monomial would be like x to the 1.5 power. It's got to be a whole number for the power. Also, something that would not be a monomial would be something that's like -2 over a variable, so like x, that would be not a monomial. And another example would be like 7 to the y power, so it's actually got to be a number. Now, with monomials, it means it's one term, so it's by itself. So like this, for example, is one term. So there's no addition or subtraction. When there's addition and subtraction within the polynomial, that makes it either a binomial or trinomial, which we'll get to towards the bottom. Now, when we talk about degree, we're talking about what degree is the exponent at, and so it's the sum of the exponents of the variables in the monomial. So for example, it's 5 and it's x to the second power. So because it's that base has that 2, it's going to be to the third, or it's going to be a degree of 2. So that base right there. So it's only what's associated. It's not, so right now this 5 is the coefficient, where this x squared that's the base and that's the exponent. You're only looking at what is going with that exponent. So what is that base that's going with the exponent to get that degree? Now that would be an example of monomial because it's one term. This is an example of a monomial too, and it has an exponent of 1 for that x, and then to the third. So what you're going to do is you're going to add those together. So your degree would be 4. Now in this one, it's independent, so it doesn't have a variable associated with it. So this one would have a degree of 0. So if it does not have a exponent, it's always going to be 0. So it's like an integer in that case. Now, a polynomial is a monomial or a sum of a monomial. So that, and each monomial is called a term of the polynomial. So a binomial, so if you think of bi, that is going to be 2 terms. So it's going to be 2 monomials put together by a plus or minus sign. So we have 5x plus 2 is an example. Monomial together, they make a binomial because they're 2 terms. A trinomial, so think of tri, it's 3 terms. And an example of that would look like x squared plus 5x plus 2. If you see, you have 1, 2, 3 terms. Now, if we're classifying polynomials, an example would be -3z to the fourth. You have to write it in standard form, so you have to put the degrees in order. So you want them from largest to smallest. In this case, we have a monomial, so that's our type of polynomial. Our degree is associated with that variable with that exponent, so it's going to be 4. And in standard form, we're just going to rewrite it and leave it because of the fact that it's by itself. It's a monomial. Now, our next example, we have 4 plus 5x squared minus x. Now we have to put in standard form, so we have a degree of 0, a degree of 2, and a degree of 1. So we want to put in order, so it'd be 5x squared minus x plus 4. So now it is in standard form. You always are going to take the largest degree. So we have 2, 1, 0. So our largest degree is going to be 2. So that's our degree of our polynomial. And then because it has 3 terms, it's going to be a trinomial. Another example would be like 8q plus q to the 5th. This has 2 terms, so it's going to be a binomial because there's 2 terms. I have to put in order, so this has a degree of 1, and this has a degree of 5. So for standard form, I have to put it in order, so I have q to the 5th power plus 8q. I always take the largest degree, so in this case, it's going to be 5 for my degree. Do one more example. So let's say I had 5x to the 3rd power, y to the 5th, plus 2x y to the 3rd. Now I have to think about, I have to add, so I have 3 and 5, so I'd have a degree of 8 here, and I have 1 and 3, so I would have a degree of 4. So in this case, it would be in standard form, so I could just rewrite it. So 5x to the 3rd power, y to the 5th, so that's a monomial, and that addition sign is now making it a binomial because it's 2 terms. So we can put that binomial. And our degree is going to be 8 because I did 3 and 5. So that's going to be 8. So you always need to, so kind of to finish this off, is that you always need to pick the largest degree in your polynomial to make sure that, and you always want it in largest to greatest. So in this case we did 2, 1, 0. This one was 5 and 1, so 5 went first, so that's our degree. And then this one we had 8, so that was why that was our degree.